Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. First of all, I would like to introduce myself first. My name is Pangestu Muhammad. I am from Class C Afternoon. My name is 322010085 and I'm from semester 5th. Alright, so for today's, I would like to explain and presentate about Deixis. So in this material, I will explain about the definition of Deixis, the classification, Deixis as a part of reference, Deixis elements, context of utterance, and definiteness, anaphora, and referential ambiguity. But first, I will explain what the definition of Deixis. So what is Deixis? Deixis is the use of broad terms and phrases in context to allude to a specific time, place, or person, such as the words tomorrow, there, and day. Words are dialectic if their semantic meaning is constant, but their designated meaning fluctuates with time or place. The example I will give you later on the explanation, so calm down. And after it, the classification of Deixis. So classification of Deixis is separate into three classifications. First one is person Deixis, used to point to objects and people. For example, for object, it's like the word it, these, and those books. These three words that I give example is for object. And for people, like her, him, them, and those students. Second is spatial deixis. Spatial deixis used to point to a location like here, there, close to, I'm at this place, I'm right here, I'm right there, I'm close to library nearby, and something like that. And the last one is temporal deixis. Temporal deixis used to point to a time, like now, then, next week, last month. I'm here right now on this place. I'm going to go to a place next week. Last month I was on a vacation with my family, and that is the example. So to interpret all these dialectic expressions, we must know which person, time, and place the speaker has in mind. There is a great difference between what is close to the speaker and what is distant. We can also realize whether there is a movement away from the speaker or there is a movement toward the speaker. If somebody is moving towards you, you say he comes. If somebody is moving away from you, you say he is going. Alright, next is I will explain about deixis as a part of reference. So reference is the relationship of one linguistic expression to another, in which one provides the information necessary to interpret the other, and deixis is a part of the reference. Reference is mainly of two types, exophoric and endophoric. According to Halliday and Hassan in 1976, exophoric and endophoric reference embody an instruction to retrieve from elsewhere the information necessary for interpreting the passage in questions. In exophoric reference, that information can only be retrieved from the context of the situation. Deixis falls under the rubric of exophoric reference. And here are the example of deixis and example of deixis in part of reference. So as you can see, this word Muhammad had a breakfast at a canteen this morning. The reference this morning will by default be understood as the morning of the day when the reference was made, that is the receiving time determines the reference. And next I will explain about deixis elements. So there is three elements contained in deixis that what makes deixis. So first is there are the linguistic forms relating to the utterance to a particular time, second place, and the third one is speaker or discourse context. And we will moving back to the example that I show earlier and prove that the element is true. So the first one is the linguistic form relating the utterance to a particular time. And the example is Muhammad had a breakfast at canteen this morning. The reference this morning is the linguistic form relating to utterance to a particular time. This morning means the time set that Muhammad had breakfast is in the morning. Second, place. As you can see, the word canteen is as a place in this example. And the third one is speaker or discourse context. And the speaker and discourse context is the Muhammad himself that been stated in the example. Alright, moving on after the elements, I will explain about the context of utterance. So context of utterance is conceived as a set of sentences or propositions. The context of utterance in this sense is often defined as the set of assumptions that the speaker supposes he or she shares with the hearer. In short, according to Slanker 1991, the context of utterance is the point at which the thought is expressed. It includes a speaker, a hearer, a time of utterance, and a world of utterance. The example of utterance is like this. To utter means to say. So when they're saying, I'm saying something, that's what it calls an utterance. Saying hi, saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, saying stop, saying come here, saying go is an utterance. Saying like good boy to your cat, like calling your animals, that is called an utterance also. So basically utterance is what you say, like I'm saying right now, this is what it's called, an utterance. Alright, moving on, after the utterance, I will explain about definiteness. So definiteness is a feature of a noun phrase selected by the speaker to convey his assumption that the hearer will be able to identify the referent of the noun phrase. For example, the sun, the cat, the dog are the definite because there is only one sun, one star, and one moon in this context. Then another example is, I was in bed when the phone rang. The word the phone is definite because there is only one phone. Alright, moving on after the definiteness, I will explain about anaphora. Anaphora. So for the explanation of anaphora, it will be better if I show you the example and I will explain from the example. Alright, in here we have the example. Observe the short passage below that I will read. In the film, a man and a woman were trying to wash a cat. The man was holding the cat while the woman poured water on it. He said something to her and they start laughing. Alright, from the example, the pronouns it, he, her, and they in the passage are subsequent reference to already mentioned reference, which are known as anaphoric reference or anaphora. So basically anaphora is like a reinstatement of pronouns in the passage that I read. Technically speaking, the subsequent reference is called anaphora and initial or already introduced reference is known as antecedents. According to one of the scholars from 1985, states the anaphoric reference is used where the uniqueness of reference of some phrase, the X, is supplied by information given earlier in the discourse. They further distinguish two kinds of anaphora, direct and indirect. In direct anaphora, the reference have already occurred. The reference has already occurred in the text and thus can be identified directly, whereas indirect anaphora, the hearer identifies the reference indirectly from his knowledge by inferring what has been mentioned. And last but not least, I will explain about the referential ambiguity. So according to Cradler, one of the scholars of 2013, he stated that misunderstanding arises when a speaker has one reference in mind for a certain statement, such as the example is like George or the Peppers, while the address has another George or another Peppers in mind. Without a doubt, we have all encountered and been concerned by this type of dilemma in reference. Other examples of referential ambiguity may be found by owing the nature of referring statements, as well the inherent vagueness of language, referential ambiguity, as well as the inherent vagueness of language. For example, for the simple example, is like when I'm kinda hungry. I'm kinda hungry. This word is an ambiguity because why you are kinda hungry? Why not hungry? And another example is like do you want to go there? But he did not or she did not explain where is there, where is the place that he or she that want you to go with her or she. Alright, so so referential ambiguity occurs when an indefinite referring expression may be specific or not. Anaphora is unclear because a personal pronoun, he, she, it, or they, can be linked to either of two referring expressions. 3. The pronouns you is used generically or specifically. Noun phrase with every can have distributed reference or collected reference. Alright, I think that is all about Deixis. I am sorry if I'm speaking way too quickly or it is unhearable or my grammar is a little bit messy. I am so sorry. So I think my explanation about anaphora will help you understand anaphora. I hope my explanation about Deixis is helping you to understand it a little bit more. I hope it will be useful for you. I am Pangestu Muhammad. I am from class C afternoon, semester 5th. Thank you for watching and thank you for listening. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.